Okay, so let me kick off this event by saying a very happy morning. Morning, my time. I guess it's afternoon over there. So happy afternoon. And yes, just want you to be interactive throughout the session. Feel free to ask any questions if you want. You can use the chat room. You can drop your chat messages, and even you can just raise your hand and can ask your questions throughout the event. Feel free to do so. And I will be just introducing all the tools that I will be using throughout my talk. Basically, we will be using three different tools. One is the Figma slides, on which I will be presenting my slides. One is this eraser. It's basically a whiteboarding tool. And third one is the VS Code, basically just like a notepad, which I'll be using. I can increase the fonts, I can decrease the fonts. So just let me know if it's not readable, if it's not in the readable format. Is it cool up to this mark? And or if there is any doubt, some sort of doubt? Cool. Shall we start?
Yes, it's cool.
Okay. Cool thing. Okay. Okay, let's go. And I guess, yes, you would be wondering, this is the first slide, and you would be wondering why we have changed the topic of the slides. So it was a small thought that I came along when I started preparing for this. The whole talk, I was preparing the slides. So I thought maybe there is some room for extra value that I can provide throughout this talk, and so that's for that particular reason we have updated the talk title and we have changed it to thinking and building like a startup engineer. My background is being into startups a lot, so yes, I am looking forward to provide you the value, and you would be having some expectations around the front end as well. So I will keep that everything in mind. Okay. Cool. Let's move to the second slide. Again, I have known this person since my birth. It's me. My name is Naman Gupta. I'm also an organizer at GDG New Delhi, just like your community. We have a community at our capital. We have more than 30,000 members right now at this point. And I'm also a senior software engineer at Neurotone AI. Neurotone AI basically is a healthcare startup. We help people who are suffering from the hearing loss. And if you are wondering why I'm looking over here, so if I have a very big screen over here. If please don't mind, I have shared that screen, and at this particular screen, I am watching you guys. So yes, this is all about me, and let's move forward. See, look who's here. Okay, so this is Wisdom Cat. There's a secret between Andy, one of your organizer, one of the member of your organizing team, and myself. We are the childhood friends, and we are friends with Wisdom Cat. So Wisdom Cat is basically our friend. He pops up in between and helps us to teach us to learn something, and he usually drops some, wisdom and shower us with the wisdom that Wisdom Cat has learned throughout his life to make us understand. So this is the concept of the Wisdom Cat, and I guess we should just say hi to Wisdom Cat. Shall we? Can we? Just a hi. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Next slide. Let me first talk about the agenda. So again, your organizers are very generous. They have given me 1 hour of time window, and I have the whole 1 hour just to have a chat with you guys. And just to present the content in the right manner, I have broken down the whole talk into three segments. The first segment is the building blocks. But in this particular segment, we will be getting us familiar with some startup terminologies, and using these terminologies, I'll be sharing some knowledge around in the uh, second phase, which is our startup journey. We will try to look how we can build things from a startup mindset, and we will try our best just to brainstorm, giving ideas back and forth. Maybe you can give some ideas, I can give some ideas, anyone can give me any idea, And third one is the activity. Yeah, because I understand the last time I gave my full focus for the longest time, that was like 30 or 40 minutes. I've been hosting talks for 7 or 8 years now. So, yeah, I understand that usually everything gets boring at the end. But yeah, just to keep it everything interactive, I would like to have some fun, So, this was a fun little session at the end of this particular talk. So, again, it's just 30, 40 minutes. You don't have to worry about much. Cool. Next slide. Whoa, the first wisdom from our wisdom cat. So, true innovators don't just create wealth, they uplift society through innovation and impact. There's a great quote, and why Wisdom Cat has popped up with this knowledge is being an engineer, either you are an entrepreneur, either you want to become an entrepreneur, either you want to become an engineer. We call ourselves as innovators, and innovators are just not yet there for creating the wealth. We are also responsible for doing innovation and putting some impact in the society. So that's the one thing, that's one takeaway, the first takeaway. And Wisdom Cat is trying to build up the base for this particular talk. So just bear with the Wisdom Cat, and you just have to be respectable towards Wisdom Cat. Okay. So first order from the Wisdom Cat, you have to think of an idea which can help society. And let me begin with the first idea. I mean, I don't want to, but I don't think so. I guess we have a very strict deadline, so I guess um, we have to move along, because Mincio and Andy has given me a very harsh deadline of 1 hour. Okay, next slide. We can do it later, maybe. Give me a sec. Focus. Okay. So over here, I guess we have made Wisdom Cat angry by not. Sorry, Andy. I guess I have to take like 5 minutes out of this particular talk, and just to brainstorm with the other attendees around this particular idea. So who's up with me just to a brainstorm, or just for a simple brainstorm? Let me go ahead first. Okay, so the basic idea behind this activity is you have to think of an idea. Just like I'm doing this over here, you can put the idea into the chat section. I guess you will be able to, whomsoever have access to the laptop or something, they can do this particular thing, and you don't have to you don't have to do this right away. You can just think of an idea into your brain and just keep it over there, and you don't have to worry about writing it right now. So you just have to do a small thing, a small little thing, that think of an idea which can impact, which can put a great impact in the society. Just like if you know Google Maps, if you are familiar with the Google Maps tell you a distance between one point to another, the fastest distance between one point to another point. But over here, I would like to propose the idea that maps should be safety first instead of the time first. Like say, instead of saving time, I should be also focusing on the safety as well. Like suppose you are coming from somewhere from in the night time, and you want to be feel safe. It's just that one. So suppose we are building the map safety first, and I'm putting a subscription of like $5. Okay, so this is my idea. Maybe you can think of some other idea just like this, and let me know at the end of this particular. We will come back to this particular section later on. Don't worry about that. Okay, cool. Let me move forward. Okay, so before we proceed, let's talk about some expectations. What you can expect, what I can expect, and everything in the world revolves around the expectations of us. So let's talk about the expectations. First, what you can expect. So you can expect a lot of brainstorming along with me. Again, we can share our ideas around the technology. We can architect. You can give any of the suggestion, because later on this particular talk, we will be sharing our ideas and around the technologies and everything. So feel free to share your ideas. And feel free to use the chat the section of this particular talk, and it will reflect that you are along with me and you are thinking. Second point, I'm your friend, not your teacher. Again, please don't consider me, don't let this talk be a one way where I'm just speaking and speaking and speaking, and after 60 minutes we go home back. Okay. So let's keep the interaction two way, where you can put your thoughts, I can put my thoughts, organizing team can put thoughts. So we are just sharing our knowledge. It's a more of a two-way connection, not a one way. Third thing, there is no silver bullet. Okay, so again, as this thing is, I guess, applicable to almost all of the things in the world, that there is no silver bullet. There is there is no single solution of each and every problem. Each and every single problem can have multiple solutions, more than one solution. So if I'm telling you a solution in this particular talk, then definitely there can be a different solution available in the market. But more or less, yeah, just keep in mind, you can share your thoughts, but yeah, feel free. Cool. And what's my expectation? So as I mentioned earlier, that Andy and I are childhood friends. So Andy has given me $100 million for this particular talk. Thanks a lot, Andy. I'm super duper happy to be your friend. And yes, again, second thing, I really want a lot of new friends in the Korea. So maybe if I visit later anytime, then definitely I'll be more than happy to catch up with you guys. So yeah, so I can brag also on the social media that hey, I have a lot of friends in Korea. Okay, and third thing, what I'm expecting is you ask a lot of questions, and as many as questions as possible. And I understand that I'm coming from the India. I'm not a native English speaker. So if I miss something, and if you are like if I miss something and you are not able to grab something, or maybe you miss something in between, feel free to ask the question again, and feel free to ask me to repeat things. I'll be more than happy to do that. But yeah, just don't stop yourself from asking a question. Maybe you can ask your questions in your native language, and I'll be taking help from your organizing team. So it's not an issue. Cool. And do you think a wisdom cat will be also expecting something? Actually, the thing is that I'm not able to see your face. Why the screen is so small? Okay, cool. Next slide. And you have to also get some yum yum cat food to this particular cat as well. So this is a something that we are agreeing on, and Minzu has agreed on this. Cool. Shall we start now? Shall we start with the official talk? Hmm. Okay, cool thing. So first thing is the building blocks. The first phase of this particular talk, and we are setting up, or we are trying to get familiar with the basic building blocks of the startup world. So first thing, you now, okay. So now you can see a lot of jargon on my screen. There are a couple of terms maybe you might be familiar with, maybe you not might not be familiar with. So these are the MVP, USP, pivot, runway, bootstrapping, VC, CSC, product market fit, and the POC. Have you ever heard about these terms before? You can raise your hand if you have. You have, okay. Oh, nice, nice. It's really great. Okay, cool thing. So why I'm just putting up these? So yeah, just to explain, MVP and USP I can explain later. I'm just skipping these two, MVP and the USP. But the pivot is basically, suppose you are building a startup, you are working on an idea, and you have to update the strategy, or maybe you have to update the product. So suppose there was a wave of blockchain technologies, and most of the startups pivoted to the AI world. So if somebody is saying that using the pivot word, then that means that they are just shifting their strategy. Runway is basically the total money that you have right now in your bank account. So suppose a startup says that we have a runway of 2 years. That means that the startup can pay out the salaries, or maybe can afford the infrastructure for 2 years, next 2 years. The bootstrapping means you have taken no funding from outside, and you are just putting your own money. and you are running your startup. VC, venture capitalist, is basically the someone, or it can be a single person or a team of a person who invest in your startup, who gives your money to uh, run your startup. CAC is cost of acquiring. Basically, suppose you are on Instagram and you spend $500 in your ads, and after spending $500, suppose you get 100 customers. So that means basically you have spent $5 per each customer. So that's the cost of acquiring one customer, $5 per each single customer. It can vary. I'm just taking the random numbers. Product market fit is basically if you are building a product and you have found a fit. I can say probably that customers are now ready to use. Suppose you have built a chat application and your friend says, "Hey, I can use that. I really like that application." So that's product market fit. And the POC is basically proof of concept. I won't touch much upon this, but yeah, I'm excited for these two specific terms, the MVP and the USP. And let me explain. Yes, the first question you might be asking right now is, aren't we engineers? Isn't this a technical session? And why we are talking about the startup terminologies? Uh, is anyone having that question? Like, nope, everyone, no one has that question. Okay, nice. You're a bright guy. Okay, cool thing. Okay, so first wisdom is don't just be an engineer, become a product engineer. So this is one thing which I have realized after working for so long into the industry. I have worked with the medium scale companies like where we had a team of 400 developers, and each of team is segregated into their own department, and we are working on a very specialized problem. And I have been working for a very long time right now into in an early stage startup setup where we are just a team of 4 or 5 engineers. So things change really quickly according to the setup. And let me give an example around that. So usually, if I break a startup or maybe a big organization, we can break it down into more further organizations. But usually, if I break it down, there are 5 different organizations. One is the marketing, customer support, finance and administration, and operations and engineering. So these are the 5 teams that usually you can break an organization into. And if you are working, so again, right now we are talking into a very startup into the context of the startups. And if you are working in a startup, then there is a high chance, suppose if there are only 10 members in your startup, there is a high chance that you have to interact with these team members on a daily basis. Suppose the marketing team is coming on, hey, we need this feature, we need to update it on a very frequent basis. So you have to build something which marketing team can use it, or maybe you have to interact with the operations. And believe me, the non-tech guys, the tech guys, maybe tech guys, I mean we as engineers or designers, or we people can think of, but the non-tech guys usually likes to use a lot of terminologies of the startups. Like it can be the CEO, like it can be CEO, COO, product managers, and things like that. So again, these terminologies will make sense when you have to interact with other team members, just to get the requirements right on the page and into the straight line. Okay, I have been keeping this MVP for this moment only. So MVP is something which I will be using very frequently throughout my talk. This particular word. So by MVP is something minimum viable product. MVP stands for something that should be. Suppose you have an idea that I will be building this phone. Which phone is this? Can you guess? No. It is like, I guess it's a S24 Ultra or maybe something like that, S23 Ultra. And suppose you are building a startup, you have an idea where you will be building the whole phone with a stylus on, and you have a very brilliant camera. But again, the MVP is basically you are having your main important features. Uh, you are just providing the main features to your customer into the first version. So right on the right hand side, we have one small normal phone, and on the left side it shows that what product that we really want to we are aiming to build into the longer run. But on the right hand side, it's our MVP. It just have the basic feature that should be in their in a phone, like a ability to call, ability to message, the text message. Second major thing is USP. That is a unique selling point. Unique selling point is something which each startup picks, and USP denotes that what makes you unique, or what makes your startup unique from other competitors. Suppose there's Apple on the left hand side. Apple usually likes to promote their phone using the word privacy, and because that's their selling point. And on the right hand side, you can see there's Samsung, which basically likes to promote their products using very cool new features, just like stylus and everything, and the cameras, the moonshot photography and everything. So that's USP. Okay, and yeah, definitely, which is something which I mentioned previous in my talk, previous stages, that this information can really, I have to interact on a daily basis with other team members, the CEOs, designers, and product managers, and they if you have to get the requirements right, if you have to build a product right as an engineer, then yes, it's really really important that you understand their language and the startup world, because that's how, maybe if you want to make money in the longer run, again, you need to have these knowledge as well, because VCs and again these entrepreneurs usually like to talk in these terminologies only. Cool. Now we are heading towards our second phase of the talk, which is starting our startup journey. Cool. Okay. So again, this particular phase I have broken down into four steps. Even if you come with an idea, and if you want to build something, suppose right after this talk, maybe into the evening, if you, or maybe it can be possible that you are already having an idea, and you just have the idea. So you are on the stage one where you can ideate with your friend. Maybe I can sit with Andy and I can say, "Hey Andy, I have this great idea. Let's build it." So Andy will say, "Okay, tell me the idea." So now we are just ideating phase. We are at the ideation phase where we are discussing the idea. And second phase is usually the choosing the stack. If we have to build something, we have to choose a stack. I mean, just picking the technology is nothing fancy or something. And third step is build and ship, and fourth is feedback and repeat. So this is how usually in the startup, if you are working in a, suppose you are working in a company, let me just open okay, so if you are working in a company setup, like a professional setup, we are usually we call the product managers usually like to call it a sprint cycle. So we call it as a sprint cycle. And even if we are working by ourselves, then oh, what happened? Yes. So sprint cycle, and if you are working by ourselves, then we can just use these raw terminologies to build something. Okay, it's just specifying the timeline. And usually people, if you look into the startup world, you will see that people take the some challenges like 72-hour challenge, 48 hours challenge, where they just aim that, hey, in the next 72 hours I will ship my MVP. I will show to my friends, or maybe anyone who are my possible customers, and I will get the feedback. So this is something which basically you ideate, you have chosen the stack, you build it for next 72 hours, you ship it, and you get the feedback. So this is the how it goes, and you have to repeat. And just to explain you better, I have taken an example over here. How many of you guys use Goodreads? Is there anyone who use Goodreads? No. Okay. Okay, so let me give you a glimpse. Maybe Goodreads is basically a website owned by Amazon, and it's for the people who likes to read books. And they basically provides a collection of all the books, and all the book lovers, all the bibliophiles that we call in English. They come and they share their reviews, their feedback around each and every book. And suppose for this particular thing, for this particular talk, suppose we are about to build the Goodreads. Okay, so this is what we are aiming right now. We have to build the good rates, and yeah, so it's just the platforms. And yes, let's first architect. This is the one thing which I am been excited for this particular stage. Okay, give me a second. Cool. Okay, so what we are going to do is we are first going to architect this particular application from an engineering perspective, like what tools we can use, what platforms do we have to maintain, and what are the things that we have to keep in mind while architecting, not building. We are not jumping on the build right now, like pick up the TypeScript or Node.js and everything, but we are just architecturing the application. Let me um, copy couple of things. I have already mentioned this thing. Is my font visible? Just let me know this thing. I want to confirm first if my font is visible to you or not. Is it visible?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, cool thing. Okay, so let's architect this application first. And while building in perspective of a startup, we have to keep a couple of things in mind. One first is the speed, because again, as I mentioned, you are a startup. Suppose you are competing with Samsung. Let's just suppose, then Samsung is having billions of dollars in their account, and uh, you can't really beat in terms of the monetary thing. You can't really pour more money than Samsung into a product. So one thing which you can leverage as a startup is the speed. You can build things faster, and there are a lot of challenges that you can take, maybe just for the build purpose, like 72 hours challenge, where you are just shipping the product in the next 72-hour cycle. um, Keeping the stack. Okay, if you are about to choose a technology, suppose you are an engineer in a startup, or maybe if you are building by for your own startup, you have to keep this thing in the mind, that the technologies that you choose, or the platform that you pick, should be scalable enough. I'm not saying that it should cater to the large scale setup, like at the scale at which Google is right now, or maybe the Amazon, at the very high traffic scale. But it should be scalable up to a point where you feel comfortable. Like if you are suppose if you are creating a chat application, then it should be able to handle, like, maybe 1 lakh registrations, maybe 1 lakh registrations, or maybe is able to handle 10,000 daily active users. So there's a term which is basically a daily active users. Again, those startup terminologies uh, will come handy. But yeah, daily active users. So how many daily users that you are getting? So it should be scalable. Okay, as this is something which is around the monetary, and I guess you are. There can be a thing where you have limited money, because again, if you, like, suppose you are competing with Samsung, you can't pour everything what you have. So there is a money constraint as well. So you have to uh, keep this in mind, that the platform and the tech stack that you are picking should be low cost. It shouldn't take much of your money. Less vendor lock-in. What this particular thing means is, most of the things that right now available in the market tries to lock you in. Suppose you are using a okay, I'll give you an example later on, but it just like suppose there's a cafe in your area, and they are providing coffee, a very delicious coffee, and as soon as you taste their coffee, you just want to buy the coffee from themselves only. And they have a very secret recipe that they only sell. So they are trying to lock you in into their cafe. So most of the platforms right now, just to make money, they try to lock you in, just like Google Meet, or maybe anything which gives you convenience, which tries to lock you in. From the developer perspective, we will look again at this thing later on. I'll give you an example, but for now, just keep this in mind, that it is a thing. Compliances, just like right now, I'm working in a startup which is into the medical industry, and there's a something which is known as a HIPAA in America, which restrict us, and which tells us how we should manage the data of all the patients that are American patients. So this is a very country specific thing. I guess you would have already heard about GDPR It's a EU thing, European continent thing, and there would be definitely certain laws that usually goes into the regional stuff, like the country stuff I'm talking about. Maybe in the Korea there are different stuff to build. There are different laws to build certain applications. If you are building into something into healthcare, if you are building into some sensitive information, things like that. Okay. Okay, cool. So this is all about that. We have to keep thing into our mind while architecting our application. Let's see if we have to build a clone of Goodreads, then how we can build, and what things do we really need. I guess you will be able to relate it with the Instagram. You can take an example of Google or maybe Amazon or something. So each of these platforms or each of these companies have majorly three components. One is a web client, which is basically your website. You can open just like Goodreads. Suppose we are building an alternative for Goodreads, so I can use this domain name and I can open their web client. So this is I'm calling it as a web client, the web interface, the web application. Okay, so the first component is the web client. Second is a mobile client. You can be a user of an iOS device, you can be a user of an Android device. So the second component comes into the picture is the mobile client. Third thing is a backend. And backend is a very general term, but it usually consists of these many things. There's like one is a database. In this database can be anything, where it can be a Postgres database, it can be a MongoDB. Have you heard about NoSQL versus SQL database? There's a terminology that goes into the tech world. Is it? Has anyone heard about SQL versus NoSQL? No? Okay, you guys have heard. Oh, nice. Okay, so Postgres is basically a SQL DB, and MongoDB is one of the famous DB from the NoSQL world. Uh, okay. Okay, so there is a one CDN which stands for Content Delivery Network. It stands for suppose you are building a startup in your own country and you have deployed the whole application into the Korean servers. And if I'm right now I'm in India, and there's a very like Korea is very far away from India. I'm talking about in terms of the distance, the kilometers or the miles, whatever uh, metric that you use. So if I try to access the application from over here, from the Korea, then it's gonna take a lot of time to get the response. So content delivery networks is basically caches uh, all of the files, just like images, text files, and other files, to deliver things faster. Suppose I'm getting the content for the first time, it will cache it on the Indian servers, and if any of the user again comes on and access the same files, then it will provide instantly without waiting for a long time. Okay. Okay. Let me just take an example. So suppose this is the Goodreads, and if you can see, it has a lot of images of the book covers. One thing which we need is let me just gather some requirements over here, and again, it's gonna fall into these buckets. Okay. First thing is a login page. We can do it's basically a logical thing. Second, we can see is we have book covers over here. These are the static covers. Book covers usually don't change, and we have to save all the book covers. We have to save all this information, just like biography. If I click on the biography, then I should be getting all the books related to this particular genre. Maybe autobiography, it's fiction or non-fiction. All those sort of things. So we have to save information. We can pick up a database. Suppose we are just going forward with a Postgres. I'm just simplifying things. Not making it complicated. Redis is some. We can talk about it later, maybe. And the CDN, let's keep it. Okay. We have to save images as well. So if you're familiar with this concept that we can't really store all the static images, or even if the just like YouTube does, if we can't save all the media files or the images into the database, because again it's going to be very very expensive. Even if we do so, we can technically, but should we? No, we should not. because it's gonna take a lot of cost. So for that particular thing, we use a special sort of storage, which is a blob storage, we call it. And one of the famous example is Amazon's AWS S3 bucket. You can put all the storage files over here. Amazon S3. If you go to the Amazon's website, you will find this thing, Amazon S3, and you can. This service is basically to use and store all of the static content, just like a video that you have recorded. So YouTube would be also storing their video files on these sort of services and will be delivering to you. Uh, these concepts might come later into the picture, but I just want to keep it simple for you. Okay, there is one compute instance which is on which your server will be running, the server code. This by this particular term, I mean the server code. I suppose you have built an application and you have built your own server which will be handling all the requests. Then we have to deploy it somewhere. For that particular thing, we will be using a compute instance. There are multiple ways that you can deploy, but let me show you. I will take an example of the DigitalOcean. And DigitalOcean is one of the cloud hosting provider. Why I'm taking the example of DigitalOcean is because it's just easy to explain and they have easy interface. If you are just starting with, I would recommend maybe to go with DigitalOcean instead of um, AWS or maybe a GCP or something. Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, let me also explain you with a particular simple format. Okay, right now we are just taking the whole system and we are breaking the whole system into these five components. So one is a web, one is a mobile, one is a DB, and one is a storage. And there's between us everything, but there's one server is running. And okay, how many of you are web developer or how many of you are like mobile or backend? So I guess you would be having different interests, right? You all okay? Yeah, or just raise your hand if you are a front end developer, like a React or something like that. If you are just learning around all those technologies, front end or something like that. No, okay, you guys are learning. Okay, cool thing. Hmm, where? Okay, sorry guys. Let me. Cool. Okay, let's proceed then with the. Maybe I should skip these things, I guess, and let me proceed with. Suppose we are building the web application of this thing. I guess that would be interesting for you guys. Cool. I'm just removing this thing. Okay. Okay. Give me a sec. Okay. Suppose we start building the first part of this particular whole infrastructure, which is the web part, and we have to pick some technologies. Suppose we are building whole system now, and what technologies at this current world we can use at the right now, and what are the options available. So suppose I have to design this web client first. I'm tackling this thing, this part, only this part. Just focus on this. Forget these are into the picture, but just focus on this one simple component, which is the web part. Okay, and if I have to build the web part, there are multiple. Definitely, there are multiple solutions available in the market. There is Next, there is Vue, Solid.js, and for your convenience, I have noted down this thing. I will share the sheet with you. If you don't mind, I'm just let me pull the sheet so that I can give you a reference as well. Uh, okay, so I will be giving you this sheet. I have prepared the whole sort of resources for you so that you can maybe at the home back you want to go along learn more about these technologies. So I will be sharing the sheet with you. I will share it with the organizers and you can probably have a chat with them for the link. So suppose you are building right now, and there are multiple solutions available into the market right now. So suppose we have the Next.js, which is on the based on React, Remix, Svelte, Solid, and Nuxt.js, which is based on top of Vue.js. So these are all the front-end frameworks that are right now available into the market and heavily popular being used. I guess most of you would have heard about the React. There can be a scenario where Solid.js and the Svelte is new for you, but again, they are catching up very quickly, and many companies are adopting these technologies. So suppose for the sake of simplicity, suppose we pick the Next.js and the Tailwind. Okay. Uh, okay. Cool. I'm just thinking to explain, making it easy for you guys. Okay. So again, looking at the, let's get back at the Goodreads part, and let's talk about the front end features that we might need. Okay, to build this thing, we might need these buttons and everything, just to highlight the text and everything. And these are the buttons, these are the search bar, and we can create by ourselves, but this usually takes a lot of time, and that's why we use component libraries to build these things, so that we can get the components out of the box without spending too much time. Right now, into the web world, ShardCN is one of the hottest library because it allows a lot of customization to you. It's built on top of React. This is a React specific library. It's not going to be available for other frameworks, but yeah, you can. If you are building a React project, then definitely you can look into this. This project comes out of the engineer at Vercel, the same company who's building the Next.js. And also, so our application also needs these tags to be crawled by Google and search engines. Suppose somebody comes in, they type the book name into the Google search, and we want to show the links to our application into the uh, website, into the Google search, I mean, I'm talking about. So for that, we also have to focus on the SEO part. And for the SEO, we have to make sure that we are doing the SSR. It's a server side rendering strategy. Have you ever heard about this name, or should I deep dive into this? Have you heard about this server side rendering? No? Okay, you guys have heard. Nice. Okay, cool. So just to improve the SEO, we have the server side rendering, which Next.js can provide. If I'm picking the stack, I'm just talking about if I have to build the front end stack, then what things I would be picking probably right now at this stage. Okay, so this is one thing. This is Next.js, and one is because again, I'm just quoting all the benefits that you get out of Next.js. One is a Tailwind. It's a preferred way right now to write the CSS. I can show you maybe probably the Tailwind, and it builds on top of the atomic CSS architecture. This is one thing. I mean, you can just note down the names right now. Maybe I will be sharing this list with you, so you can just focus right now on more of the just take a focus from an eagle side view. Just keep on remembering things, and you can maybe touch base on this later. So ShardCN, we have covered this. This is a component library. Lucid Icon, a great icon library. You do get a ton of icons. So if you are building something, then and if you need icons, Lucid Icon is the way to go. React Query. Okay, so this is something tool which comes into the picture when we have to build something. Have you ever fallen into a case where you open Facebook into two different tabs, and suppose you post from the one tab and you go back to the second tab and it shows that hey, you have some old information? Have you faced this scenario before? Or maybe you are on the Amazon or something, you order from one tab and you go to the another tab where you previously did search for Amazon, and now you have a older state. It shows that hey, you have, I guess, ordered something. Have you experienced this? Okay. So basically, this concept in the technological world, we call it as a revalidate state. And as soon as we focus on the new tab, we have to revalidate everything. It can be from the Facebook standpoint of view. As soon as we switch the tab, we can ask that, hey, we want to revalidate everything. So React Query is a good library for that particular part. And this is React Query, tensor query. You can go maybe check this out later. And for the global state, ZooStrand is one of the easiest solution right now I can think of. And why I am picking the JS and the TypeScript stack is because it allows me to build the mobile client as well. So if you go into our requirements, we also have to build the mobile application as well. And if you want to build the mobile application, suppose there can be a scenario where you are having a good team, maybe of 5 or 10 developers. But if you are not having a good team, if you are just alone or maybe building along with your friend, there's a high chance that you need a lot of different skills. Like just to build a backend, if you are learning Go or maybe the Rust, that can be a bigger challenge for you. So just to keep the stack simple, and we can pick the same stack based out of JS and the TypeScript. On the mobile side, we can pick the Expo. This is the Expo. Using the React Native built on the top of the React Native, you can build any of the application, any of the mobile application, and this can fulfill our needs for this without moving away from the JavaScript or the TypeScript world. Cool. And okay, and coming to the backend, we also do have a requirement to build the backend over here, and to build the backend, we have multiple options. If you are picking the JavaScript stack at this point, we have Hono. Hono is right now the basic one of the famous framework right now into the market, and you can pick Hono and Adonis. One of the these are the two best options right now. So these are the two different options that you can pick, and I'm just trying to make to simplify the tool chain for you guys over here. That if we have these requirements, what stack we can basically use. So for the compute instance, we can use the Adonis, Feathers, or Hono. For the media processing, suppose we have to save all the images, then we can use maybe Cloudflare images, AWS S3, and all of that. For the again, AWS also provides the same capabilities for the media processing as well. And yes, that can be our stack if you are building in from the perspective of a front end dev. I guess uh, okay, how like which part should I simplify right now? I guess we are moving away, and I guess maybe it can be a bit more complex for you. It's getting more complex for you guys. So, in which part should I simplify, or which should in part should I deep dive right now? I have to, I guess, change the talk on the fly a bit. Let's pick a part. I'll try to simplify that part only. No, no suggestions. Okay, cool. Okay, cool, cool. Okay, so right now we are building from the eyes of a front-end dev how we can probably build this. But let me tell you now the easiest stack what you can go if you want to build something. So there's something which right now into the world we call it as a backend as a service. So again, understanding the complexity of the backend, we have a lot of services into the backend where we have the database, CDN, the blob storage, load balancers, and each of these things can be a very tedious task for you to manage as a front end app. I'm not just talking about the front end. I'm not questioning the capabilities of you guys, but I'm just talking that if you are building alone, then it can be a very complicated thing. So just to simplify the needs, we have a backend as a service thing, and these platforms are the one of like the famous platforms are the Superbase, Firebase, if you have heard about, and multiple platforms. I have also noted these platforms over here. If you want to check this out later, under the BAS, we have Google, Firebase, and Host, AppWrite, and Convex. So what they provide is they simplify things. So they try to manage the backend for you guys, and you can build the front end by yourselves. So this is one thing which here they are doing. They provide you the database. They provide you the authentication, because of the authentication is a bit tedious task as well. They provide you the storage. Storage is basically the same thing. The Amazon S3 I was talking about, the bucket storage. There's one edge function, and yeah, so you are basically getting everything what you need to build this application, and they are simplifying you that you can manage only, you can focus on the web part and the mobile part using the expo and the baby react, and they will be handling this part, all these three components for you guys. So in this way, you can build uh, the whole system in the most easiest way. If you are building as a front end developer, where I understand that you will be knowing more of the JavaScript and the TypeScript. Cool, is that okay? Okay, and I think so. Maybe there are again multiple options into the market. I'm not saying that this is a silver bullet, and I understand that many of you would be a mobile developer, just like maybe building on top of Swift, maybe building on top of Kotlin, Flutter. So if you are building on the Flutter and Kotlin, you can, but again there can be a complexity which can come into the picture, where you have to learn another language just to build the server and the manage the database and the whole system, the whole infrastructure. Even if you go with the Golang and the Rust, it can be a tedious task. So just to make the tech stack simple, what you can do is you can pick up the front end from the web, from the mobile for the same React ecosystem, and you can pick up you can leverage the benefits of the backend as a service system, where you are giving everything to handle to the Supabase, and you are just managing everything. Am I missing something over here? Okay, cool. Okay, so yes, probably we can talk more about. I guess that's gonna be a lot complex. Cool. I guess we are about time as well. Okay, is there any specific question which you would like me to address, or is there any specific part which you would like me to deep dive into? Any specific question from the technology perspective or something? Anyone?
Uh, I have a question about the backend, especially the load balancer. How do you handle load balancer? Do you use AWS, something like this?
And okay, yeah, that's a great question. So right now, there are two perspectives, and I can answer into two different perspectives. Suppose if you are using a backend as a service, then load balancing is not something that you have to handle by yourselves. Okay, Supabase, or if you are using the Supabase, they will be definitely handling by themselves. They provide you, I guess, one at the beginning they provide you a 1 GB of the whole server, and they will be handling the load balancing for you. What I really like is right now, my favorite stacks goes along the lines of the serverless, where you don't have to manage the load balancing at all, and the company by themselves managing everything. Yes, if you have to manage, then I would recommend. I have used in the past that AWS service, AWS auto scaling service, where you can deploy your Docker machine or any of the server on their instance, and you can just configure it so that it can scale up and the scale down. But if you are asking from a startup perspective, then I would suggest you maybe you should once look into the serverless architecture as well, where you don't have to manage a lot of things, just like a load balancing, because load balancing sometimes crashes a lot if you haven't configured it properly, and that can put up a loss a lot into your business. So just check it out, serverless. But yeah, feel free to ask me follow-up question if I didn't answer your question.
Thank you for your answer.
Okay, did I answer the question right in the right way? Was it the answer that you were looking for?
Yeah, that was what I was looking for.
Okay, cool. Yeah, makes sense. But if you are looking into the serverless stack, definitely check the Hono, because Hono is basically uh, uh, Hono is building onto the web standard right now, and if you have asked this question, then definitely you would be familiar with the different runtimes. And there is a website that I have linked over here. Let me just look it up. Compat. Okay, yeah, there's a compatibility checker which I have added over here for you guys. So what it does, if you have asked this question, then you would be definitely familiar with different runtimes that right now available in the market. There's Mun, Dino, Node.js. They are just the Node.js competitor. And if you are building and if you are deploying into any of the cloud infrastructure, then you need to be familiar with these different environments, because suppose into the local environment there is a high probability that you are running Node.js and you are building on top of Node.js. But as soon as you deploy on any of the serverless cloud, just like Netlify or maybe the Vercel or maybe this Cloudflare's Workerd, it might crash. Your my application might crash. So just keep that in mind. For the safe side, always look for web standards, or there's a winter CG compliant, basically winter compliance governance. This is the thing which keeps a track, and they keep a track between different cloud environments just to ensure that each and everything should be compatible between different environments. So if you are deploying on Netlify, and if you are building on the Node.js, deploying in on Netlify, then it should work. So if you are exploring the serverless environment, just keep the runtime into the mind. But apart from that, everything should be good. Any other questions? No?
Recently, I've been building an app using Next.js
Mm-hmm.
and connecting the Next.js with backend server, which was JS Java Spring framework. Uh, is it common for Next.js to make a proxy API? Is it necessary?
So if I understand the question correctly, you are talking about Nest.js, right? The Nest.js.
No, Next.
Okay, you are building your application with the Next.js and
Using Java Spring.
Java Spring. I'm not sure what's this. Let me check once. Java Spring, right? This is the spelling.
Yeah, I guess it is right.
Okay. Is it this framework? Is it the Spring Boot by Java?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
cool.
a backend framework.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead. Yes, if you don't mind, please could you please repeat the question now?
Uh, anyway, when I was using Java Spring framework, I mean backend framework, other backend framework.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going? Is it common using API I guess we can, when using Next.js, we can
Mm-hmm.
make a proxy server, something like backend server.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are building an app, are you going to make a proxy backend using Next.js?
Okay, I guess you are talking about this approach. Okay. So Next.js in this world we call it as a backend, backend for front end, where you are calling. Just correct me if I'm not if I'm wrong over here, but you are asking about this thing where you from the front end you are calling the functions written into the JavaScript on the Next.js, and those functions are gonna call your backend. Am I right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yes. I guess yes. There are a lot of situations for first of. I mean, it's your preference. Definitely, you can use the Spring Boot over here, but I will. Uh, usually, that's my personal choices. I usually like to keep in one ecosystem, which is JavaScript or the TypeScript. And if you are using that, I mean, that's completely fine. For the backend, this particular the question that you have just asked, yes, we have been using a lot. We use it when we don't want to expose information to the client. Suppose you are doing some rendering onto the backend. Uh, I guess if you are familiar with the Next.js, then you would be familiar with the React server component. So that's the same strategy that they are also using. They are rendering onto the backend and delivering everything into your onto your client, so that you don't have to make different calls from the client. If you have something sensitive data where you have to make a request from the backend, then definitely use as a proxy server. You are making request to your Next.js function, and then in a way they are calling your backend. This is one hack which is also being frequently used by many analytics tool. So suppose you are using Sentry or maybe Post Hog. I also added these. I have also added these technologies over here as well. Wait, let me see. Okay, now I guess I forgot. So yes, I prepared this slide as well. So this mentions extra tools and technologies that you can use. So suppose you are using the Post Hog and you are using a privacy first browser just like Brave or something, they usually block your servers. So they block your script. They want users to download their script. So just to bypass that, many people use Next.js functions as a proxy server so that they can divert the request, and browser thinks that, hey, I'm not talking about to the Postgres server, Post Hoc server, so it's pretty okay to connect to. So they can inject the script. So yes, there are multiple hacks that are being used, but if only if you have to judge by yourself, can it impact your performance of your application? Can it impact in some other way, or is it necessary? It only gets a necessary thing when you are accessing some sensitive data and you are making a call to DB and those sort of stuff.
So in conclusion, you are saying in case of handling sensitive information,
Mhm.
it is recommended to use proxy, right?
Proxy, by proxy, yes, yeah, you can use it.
Mm.
Again, it depends on the case to case basis. And maybe it can be not just for the sensitive data. Maybe you are making 2 or 3 or 5 requests in a one go, and you have to collectively collect all the data, and then you have to serve to the client. So it's better to make one single request to your proxy server, and then your proxy server makes another 5 requests on behalf of you. So there are different strategies, but again, yes, it depends on uh, the case by case basis. If you want to read more, I guess it's very well explained under the remix section of BFF. Wait, let me show. Yes, this is a section. You can search for remix run another competitor of Next.js. There is a section called backend for front end. This section explains really well the question that you are asking. Maybe all the strategies, all the scenarios that you want to handle.
Okay, thank you for your answer.
Yeah, anytime.
And I think that it's nearly time to end the presentation. So could you please wrap up?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, I guess we are just the end. Okay, these are the tools. If you are building anything, something right from the scratch, there's analytics. One of the famous tools right now at the current stage is the post hook to grab the analytics, like how many daily active users are you are getting, how many monthly active users are you are getting. One is the Sentry. It's for the crash reporting. Suppose your application crashes in between. Sentry is a good tool to catch all the errors. And there's also definitely keep a channel for the feedback of the customers so that customers can reach out for the support. They can submit their feedback and so that you can iterate better. Cool thing. And at the end, I've had an activity, but I guess probably we can skip it as we are about time. And cool thing, okay, these are the three things that I would like to suggest being into the longer game. So keep a check on your mental health, keep a check on your physical health, and also keep learning outside the scope of the technical because it allows you to think better in a lot of different ways. So yeah, keep everything in check, keep pushing, and yes, and thanks for joining everyone today. Community, again, this is one thing which I usually say it in all of the events, which is community is just a word, but each one of you add meaning to it. Is basically that each one of you add meaning to your community, each your community, even into the whole world as a tech community in a whole. So yes, keep contributing, keep helping each other, and yes, let's keep going. Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining in today, and I hope so. I was I mean, I was able to provide any value. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn. I can put a link over here. Uh, you can just reach out to me on LinkedIn. Uh, yes, that would be my LinkedIn, and you can reach out to me for your questions and everything. And I guess you would be having the link of this particular sheet. So feel free to ask your organizers. I will request Miss you and Andy to spread it across the sprints. And thank you. Thanks a lot. It also has a lot of startup resources as well. So definitely check this out. I have curated this list for you guys.